Unilateral exercises are a great way for you to work on the quads, the glutes, the hamstrings, the calves, the ankles, everything. But I see people doing 3 big things in their lunges that are going to cause problems, could even cause more issues and pain down the line. So the first thing I want to talk about is avoiding flexing over in your lunge, your trunk posture, and what you're doing in that lunging motion. So when you think of a lunge, this is what I often see. People going into a moving lunge, or if you're doing a split squat, kind of going into this position. What I want you to focus on is what's happening here. So when you get into your split squat position or you're doing a lunge, I want you to concentrate on what's going on at your upper body. We want to primarily work the lower body, and we want to keep all of this nice and stable. So even if you have heavy dumbbells, you're working the core, you're working the spine, you're working all these pieces of the body while you're going into that split squat or lunging motion. So by holding on the dumbbells, you're creating some tension through the midsection, through the core, but you're also going to be staying nice and upright, working on those postural muscles, so you're getting a nice, good, controlled motion here. What that's also going to do is create a little bit of a stretch on that back leg while working the things that you want to work on the front leg as well as this back supporting leg. So again, number 1 is make sure you're staying nice and upright and you're not flexing over this way. One reason why people might want to do this flexing position is because it puts a lot of stress and strain on this back hip flexor or quad. So if you have to, maybe bring this foot up a little bit, but make sure that you're staying here nice and tall with your posture. So that's number 1, keeping a much more upright posture. The second thing is watching the direction of your knee and your foot on that front leg, and the back leg too, but primarily the front side. So when you get in position here, and if you have to, use something to hold on to when you're doing these motions, because balance can throw you off and it's going to cause lack of control. What we want first of all is control, then you can worry about balance, then you can add some weight, some dumbbells. But when you go into a lunge or split squat, I don't want to see your knee poking that way, your hip out this way. That's just kind of a recipe for disaster of the knee here, all the tissue and connective tissue on the inside here. You're not creating any stability with your hip and your glutes back here. So you're causing a lot of bad tension and torque on the leg there. You also want to keep an eye on the toes here. You don't want to have those pointing in, because again, you're just kind of getting out of alignment and you're teaching your body the improper movement patterns. So, little tip, you can use a golf club, you can use whatever you've got, a little stick, dowel rod. Put that right next to your toe, and when you do your split squat or lunge the first couple of times, I want you to go down and make sure you don't hit the golf club. So if I come in and I go down, I hit the golf club, I know that I'm pinching inward, and that tells me that I'm not using my hip muscles properly to stabilize this position, and I'm letting things drift in that way. Another thought that you can have is with your foot, I almost want you to feel like you're corkscrewing into the ground here. So with my foot, I'm going to push down into the ground. I'm going to kind of corkscrew it outward. And you're going to see what that does to my knee when I corkscrew it outward. Now I've got some tension through the whole leg, and as I go down, that knee definitely isn't pinching in. In fact, it's almost kind of moving out towards the outside of my foot. And that's kind of what I want to see. I want to create a little bit of that rotational force there. And that's going to put a lot of the stress and strain on the spots that I want in the hip, the inner side of the thigh here. And those are the areas that are really going to help support the knee, support the ankle. Okay, so that's number 2. Watch the direction of the knee and the foot. And then the last one is on your front foot, keep the heel on the ground. So I don't want to see this. As you go down, you'll see my heel's coming up here. What that's going to do is put a ton of stress on your calf and on your Achilles in this front foot. It's going to put a lot of stress on your thigh too, which we're trying to work the thigh, but I don't want you to be up on the toes here. You're going to see that pulls my whole body forward. And so again, I kind of lose that posture there too. I want to keep the heel on the ground. I want to make sure that my ankle can bend here enough so that I can stay there. That tells me that I've got good motion in my ankle and I'm getting in the proper position for this exercise, and that I'm adequate to do this exercise. If I can't keep my heel on the ground, I most likely need to do some work on that ankle. So again, watching the trunk posture here. So I'm not flexing forward. I'm staying nice and upright. I'm also keeping my knee in a nice straight, and if anything, maybe even coming out a little bit lateral, or I'm kind of corkscrewing and coming out towards the outer toes, keeping the toes nice and straight here. And then lastly, that heel on the front foot staying down through that whole motion, not coming up here and putting a lot of stress on my Achilles. So those are 3 things that I want you to pay attention to next time you're doing lunges, split squats, whatever you're doing. When you're doing those unilateral exercises, pay attention to those things, and I know that your control is going to be better, and the gains that you get out of that exercise are going to be much better. Train hard, practice smart, play better golf.